Hi, my name is Boston John, and I'm an alcoholic. And I was just driving home, and I thought of a line in the book. Actually, it's not even the whole line, it's just part of a line on page 44. I was thinking about this earlier, and on 44, it describes exactly what an alcoholic is, how it's defined in our literature. And so when I say, Boston John, I'm an alcoholic, I mean as defined by our literature. So again, anything I say in these videos is just my opinion based on my experience and my observations in Alcoholics Anonymous. So on page 44, bottom of the first paragraph, it says, "You may be suffering from an illness which only a spiritual experience can conquer." So I was thinking about that. That line follows the description of the alcoholic. What Alcoholics Anonymous says is that if you're an alcoholic, as we define it, you may be suffering from an illness which only a spiritual experience can conquer. That's pretty rough. So when I got into AA, I didn't think of myself as having an illness. I didn't think in terms of what a spiritual experience was. If somebody mentioned it to me, I'd scratch my head and go, huh. The idea of a spiritual experience or a spiritual awakening, I couldn't conceive of it. If I wasn't feeling well and I went into the hospital, or I went to see a specialist, and after examining me and asking me a bunch of questions, and I was truthful with them, and I answered them all the best I could, and they said, "John, you may be suffering from an illness which only a spiritual experience can conquer." Oh, I don't get it. I can't help you. The best I can do is suggest you get into a program where engaging in it will allow you to have that spiritual experience and allow you to conquer this problem. I think the use of the word conquer is very important here. It tells me I can win and that I can get out of this. For me, in order to really buy into the AA plan of recovery, I had to come to the conclusion that I was beyond human aid and that I'm suffering from an illness which a spiritual experience could conquer. It tells me in step 12 that as a result of the steps, I will have this spiritual awakening. And so if I could have that, I could get well, improve my life, overcome the drinking problem, and prosper on several different fronts in my life and not struggle so much and overcome the unmanageability. So I feel as somebody coming into AA, once you get here, sit down, get comfortable. At some point, I had to ask myself some serious questions. I had to get honest with myself and decide whether or not I was ready to engage in AA more so than just attending meetings, socializing, and participating to some degree through shares. Am I in a position now where I'm ready to turn my life and will over to the care of God and then carry on and complete the step work so that I could conquer this illness and start to engage in healthy living and to overcome the drinking problem? So personally, I made that decision. It took me about 4 months in AA initially to decide to really try to understand AA and why it approaches it from the angle that it does, and why AA believes that we're suffering from an illness which probably only a spiritual experience could conquer. Once I decided I was in that bad a shape and that I couldn't get well on my own, I decided I was going to get help getting through the step work. There's been a fundamental shift, and I feel I've had that spiritual awakening, not specifically a spiritual experience in a sense where I could think of one particular incident, a spiritual awakening, understanding that I had to try and engage in life differently than I had up to the point I reached Alcoholics Anonymous. And it made all the difference. I couldn't have come up with this on my own. And if somebody tried to explain it to me before I was ready to hear it or comprehend it, it wouldn't have grabbed. I would have just carried on. I wouldn't have believed it. I always felt I could get out of whatever situation I was in. The thing was, a lot of times I could get out of the situation I was in, but then I would go and eventually I'd be in the same or a worse situation. And I had no ability to learn from past mistakes or to engage in life in a way where I wasn't constantly coming up against problems caused by me and my behavior and my belief system. AA in the step work helped me get on track. It gave me something in the terms of a higher power, something to pin my ideals to, which made it a lot easier to get through life. That's what the difference AA has done for me. That came after comprehending and admitting that I had an illness that probably only a spiritual experience can conquer. I went for it. Anyway, thanks for listening. Have a good rest of your day.